Hi, my fellow Transylvanians. wanted to, I have some more information about the wedding scene, and I wanted to include one more Transylvanian that I didn't include on the first video, and that's this little short lady, and her name is Sadie Core, or Sadie Corey. She died in 2009 at 91 years of age, and she was 4'2". Anybody familiar with the movie will know exactly which one she is. Okay, I want to talk about the symbolism that we've already seen. So I mentioned that Brad and Janet, he started singing the love song in a cemetery, and we see this bizarre mix of love and death. And we're going to see more of those kinds of contrasts as the movie goes on. But let's talk about that for a moment. They are young love, naive to the world, naive to what their roles are as men and women in the world, um, and they're in a cemetery. The church just held a wedding, the start of your love journey. It's being morphed over into black flowers, coffin, death, a funeral being set up. So, what can you surmise that might be saying about Brad and Janet's new love? See there? Everything's intentional. So, right now, they only have what they believe to be the way love starts. That's the way our love will grow. And he's very masculine, clumsy, but, kind of the masculine oaf. And she's very feminine. And those roles are going to be reversed and turned upside down, and their innocence lost. The death of their innocence, the cemetery, the church. So Brad will lose his rigid masculinity, and Janet will shed her innocence. And right now, they are depicting them as the typical 50s young teenage couple. They're a little older than teens, but, young love. She's got the little pantyhose and the little chunky heels. Her outfit's very feminine. He's very masculine and a little clumsy, but let's see here. The relationship will literally never be the same. And so what starts out as young love and it should be sweet and all that, we already see the foreshadowing of the cemetery, the funeral, and when he's getting the ring out, he drops it. So this is not going to get off to a good start. There's a lot of symbolism here. Let me see here. We get to the car trip. Now think about that. Their first joint venture together is in stormy, dark weather. He cleans the windshield. He can't see very far ahead. They cannot see what's about to unfold. They cannot see that their lives are going to be forever changed, their innocence forever lost, their views of who they are in the world and to each other is going to change. The motorcyclist seems to come out of nowhere, and that is exactly how their pending education is going to hit them out of nowhere. What appears to be just an innocent knock on a door to use a phone, true education will come out of nowhere. So let's talk about the car trip in the storm, the motorcycle, that all foreshadows Eddie and the evil that goes on in this castle. All the Transylvanians are arriving by motorcycle, as we see when the lightning strikes, and there's a whole line of motorcycles there. And the whole car ride is sort of a metaphor for their innocence and naivete. So they're supposedly young, but adults. They're ill prepared for life. He goes out on a stormy night with no spare tire, ill prepared for what lies ahead. And so they are, and Nixon is resigning on the radio, but the narrator, the criminologist, already told us this is in November, and Nixon resigned in July. So the timeline is a little wonky there, probably on purpose, because as those of you who went with me on the Elvis movie, everything is a decision. And so their timeline, time warp, the time slip, all of that is going to be disjointed. You know, their whole time at the castle is only overnight. It's not even 24 hours, but it seems like a long story. So time is out of joint. And so they're listening to Nixon resign, but it's in November. Um, right now, they only have the platitudes of what adults would say. So the motorcyclist comes and Janet says, "Gosh, where did that motorcycle come from?" You know, or "They sure take their life in their hands." And he goes, "Yes, Janet, life's pretty cheap for that type." You know, he's just spouting what he thinks the man ought to say. When they get into the castle, he's, "Oh, it's all right, Janet." He never sees the danger. He doesn't see ahead to know that he should have a spare tire, especially going out on a rainy night. He doesn't see ahead. And when we get into the castle, she's the one who's going to go, "I'm scared. This is not normal." And he's going to go, "It's all right, Janet. I'm here." And then he says dumb things to the Transylvanians. We'll get into that as we go. Let's see here. I want to make sure I don't miss anything there. Okay, let's talk about the walk up to the castle. So he said a few miles back. They're going to walk a few miles in the rain. If you notice, she's not soaking wet when they get there. Her newspaper should be shredded by now. But this is where the part in the audience when everybody has a newspaper over their head, and in our day, some people would bring water guns, you know, sprinkle some water in there. I'm sure the theater owners loved it. But this was the very first callback, according to Tim Curry. And he said, oh, he gave the name, and I forgot to look it up again. But anyway, the guy said, "Buy an umbrella, you cheap bitch." And that started it with everybody wanting to yell back at the screen because it just offers itself for that. So they get the sign on the gate, "Enter at your own risk," and lightning. You know, it's all the typical tropes of the old scary movies. Now, let me tell you, they say there's a light over at the Frankenstein place, and you look up and you see riffraff up in the top window. And so riffraff is up in this window in the highest part of that castle. And he's singing, "The darkness must go down the river of night's dreaming. Flow, Morpheus, slow. Let the sun and light come streaming into my life." Darkness, and we need some light. That is a universal truth. And I wanted to say the big universal truth. They say it at the very end. They say it, but then they say it again at the very end. The song ends with, "There's a light in the darkness of everybody's life." So no matter what you're going through, no matter how dark it seems, no matter how hopeless it seems, there's a light in that darkness in everybody's life. So who knew that a movie like this could have such deep meaning? And so far we have seen a warning about Brad and Janet's life. Their new love is not going to make it. It's not going to. Frank is going to strip away everything they know about life and love and their own sexuality. And when I say strip away, literally they will be stripped down into their underclothes. All the outer clothing from the world stripped away. Now we find out who's really there. Y'all come back. See you on the next one.